So I want to just give my perspective of Positrio, kind of talk about how we became Positrio. And so our story began just about 2 years ago in January of 2020. A very small cohort of students decided to take on the positive leadership track. It was new at ACU. This was the first positive leadership class being offered. None of us really understood what it meant or what positive leadership was or how it was going to impact us. But after attending Dr. Cake and Dr. Rasmussen's workshop, we were all very excited. So we started Lead 736, and through those 8 weeks, we began building connections with one another. We quickly started learning about positive relationships, communication, energy, and then emotions. Fast forward a few terms, Matt, Jordan, and I met again in another positive leadership class. And as we met again in the second class, our connection just started building and building. And it started feeling like we were sort of destined to do this doctoral journey together. And so from that, Positrio was born. And I named it Positrio because I name everything. And I think it's more fun than saying Alex, Matt, and Jordan every single time. It just gave us a little humor, right? And so because of this connection, we started experiencing a bunch of positive emotions and witnessing that our connection was creating a positive impact, not only in our school lives, but it was also starting to create a positive impact in our personal lives. So I really want to talk about positive emotions, and those are important, but I think it's important that we also address negative emotions first. We all know what negative emotions are. We've all experienced them. I think we all understand what negative emotions are better than what we understand positive emotions are. And so negative emotions like fear narrow your thought action repertoire. Like that is your response options. It constricts it. And so when you have these negative emotions like fear, your response options are often like fight, flight, or freeze. Okay, that leaves us with 3 options to choose from. And although this can save us in the short term, long term, it's going to cause us problems. Having long-term negative emotions can cause chronic stress. It can make a person potentially violent. It can cause depression. And what it does is start spinning you in a downward spiral, which could lead to increased depression, anxiety, and ultimately long-term, if that continues, negative emotions could kill you. However, we have an upside, right? We have positive emotions, which are awesome. And according to Fredrickson, positive emotions are indicators of flourishing and optimal well-being. Who doesn't want to flourish in their life, and who doesn't want optimal well-being? We all strive for that in our life. And so when your positive emotions are cultivated, they can help you attain psychological growth and, again, enhanced well-being. Some researchers even argue that positive emotions can reduce inflammation, lessen the number of colds a person has, and reduce cardiovascular disease. All great things. Some examples, as you can see in the graphic, include joy, love, interest, inspiration. There's a lot of positive emotions that are not on this graphic, but I think it gives you a great foundation. So overall, unlike negative emotions that constrict our response options, positive emotions broaden them. And this gives us both short-term and long-term benefits, which is going to eventually help us build those personal resources that we need to reserve for future threats, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. So the take-home message really here is that they're worth cultivating because it's not just an end state. I'm not just joyful and then I'm joyful and it's over. Right? It means that I have these long-term benefits I'm building and achieving psychological growth over time. I want to just pause for a second to share another story. At the end of 736, which was our first positive leadership course, Jordan and Matt did their final discussion together, which you can see them on the left. And when I watched this video, I was smiling so much. I was just filled with joy because I thought, what a great idea. And then I thought, how can I be a part of that? I want to be a part of that connection. They had made this connection in school that I was deeply craving. Sometimes online courses can feel isolating. Even though we do have discussion boards, sometimes those connections aren't strong or they're sort of fleeting. In the next class, you have different peers. And so I wanted this face-to-face connection with them. So when we took our second positive leadership course, we had another group assignment to do. And I basically emailed them and said, hi, my name is Alex. I'm also really cool. Be my friend. Okay, we're doing this together. And so as you can see on the right, they were like, okay, great, Alex. And so we did it together. It was awesome. And look at us now. We're presenting together. Okay, so I want to dive in just a little bit to broaden and build theory, because I think it's an important way of understanding how positive emotions help us. So Fredrickson says that the broaden and build theory is the idea that positive emotions such as joy, interest, gratitude, love, broaden your positive thought action repertoire, again, your response options, and that helps build social, emotional, and psychological reserves for your future. So a couple of examples that Fredrickson gives us is joy. Joy broadens by creating the urge to play, by being creative. And so if you think about yourself as a child or your children or your grandchildren and how much joy they have when they're little, right? They're just so full of joy. And that often spawns into these playful moments and this creativity. You know, some of us had imaginary friends, or they like to paint and color and all the things. And then that creates more joy, right? And so I think it's important as an adult that we replicate that and we try to spend our time having playful moments and being creative to help create joy. Interest is another example that Fredrickson gives, and she says that that helps broaden by creating this urge to explore, take in new information, experiences. And for Positrio, we really began a deeper interest in our topics that we were learning in positive leadership together. We started having a deeper interest in one another's personal lives. And then, I mean, as Dr. KK mentioned, Jordan and I are even writing our dissertations about the same topic because of our deeper interest in conversations throughout our connection, which is awesome. Okay, so if we look at the graphic, it starts with positive emotions at the bottom, you see, and it broadens into these thoughts, activities, relationships, and that begins to build your personal resources. Some of these resources include social support, right? So high quality connections, resilience, which Matt is going to talk about later, and your knowledge even. And then that's going to lead us to enhanced health, right? We all want enhanced health in life. I think if you say you don't want enhanced health in life, I don't think you're being truthful. We all want to achieve that goal. And so high quality connections create not only positive emotions, but also positive energy, which is what Jordan's going to talk about next. And so we, at Positrio, we made a social connection. This connection led us to joy, which led us to creativity, which led us to interest. In this cycle, we call the upward spiral. Okay, I mentioned the downward spiral, which we can all imagine. But now we have an upward spiral, and the upward spiral continues generating more positive emotions and energy in a cycle that boosts personal and social functioning, right? So you have joy, and then you have creativity, which creates more joy, which creates more creativity, and you just keep upcycling. The hope is that once you're in an upward cycle, that you have a ripple effect on those around you. So those around you are also experiencing an upward cycle. Ultimately, you have a higher functioning self. You hope that those around you have a higher functioning self. And leaders, this is important because this is going to help you create a positive climate in your organization. And Cameron argues that positive climates can create higher levels of well-being, higher levels of productivity, job satisfaction, and ultimately that's going to produce a better bottom